Well, hello everyone and welcome again to my channel. It's your boy Kato, and today is going to be actually a pretty special day because I'm going to be reacting to something that has a good friend of mine named Takeda has suggested, which is a nice YouTube video which named "What is Truth? Philosophy in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood." So yeah, this is kind of a different type of content, so I hope you guys like it, and I hope I like it too. So yeah, I'm just going to react to this. First of all, I haven't really watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood yet. Well, actually, I don't think I'm ever going to watch it. I'm sorry about that. It's just that, you know, and before you go and leave a dislike or anything, okay, actually, before you go, just leave a like, and then you can get the fuck out if you want. But if you've stayed, here's the thing. I've been spoiled a lot about this anime, you know, and anything that I search into in an anime, whether it be in the philosophical aspect and the emotional impact and the mystery and the plot and everything that is in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, has already been spoiled for me. So I don't really have any real intention or drive to even watch this thing. So it is what it is. On top of that, it kind of seems a bit too sad for me. I don't know why. So yeah, it ain't my vibe, I guess. But I believe I do believe it's a great anime. I do believe it might be a masterpiece even. But yeah, it is what it is. So that is my explanation. My explanation. I hope that you understand. And yeah. So let's just get into it. As far as if I'm never gonna watch it, I might as well watch videos like these when I delve into Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Anyway, so without further ado, let's go.
Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is a show that some joke about, saying that it's almost paradoxically good in spite of its popularity, arguing that the most popular shows are subpar in terms of quality. Disregarding the truth of that statement, though, you can't deny that this is high praise for FMA, as it implies that it's a much higher in quality than its peers, and part of this consensus comes from its intellectual writing. It's no coincidence that a show that begins with the two main characters pursuing a Philosopher's Stone has a great amount of philosophical commentary. We'll tackle one of those questions in another video coming soon. Philosopher's Stone, its intellectual writing. It's no coincidence that a show that begins with the two main characters pursuing the Philosopher's Stone has a great amount of philosophical commentary. We'll tackle one of those questions in another video coming soon. But today we're going to talk about a huge similarity between a theme in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and Plato's system of beliefs. One thing that always stood out to me about anime in general is how they often have unique interpretations of God. In Code Geass, God is the collective consciousness of all humanity.
Code Geass is like one of the best masterpieces out there in all fiction, whether it be in TV shows or manga or anime or webtoons or whatever the fuck you want. You have to, if you haven't watched it yet, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, get the fuck out of here, watch it, and then come back and tell me what it is.
In Death Note, gods are just mortal creatures who extend their own tragically mundane lives by stealing years off of human lifespans. In Naruto, God is an alien? I don't know, the whole Kaguya subplot always confused me. But one of the incarnations that I find most intriguing...
Disrespect? What the fuck? Should I just stop this shit here? I mean, the concept of God in Naruto is kind of blurry, and it has never been really one of the best philosophical aspects of Naruto, so...
is, of course, the Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood portrayal of the idea.
One
of the reasons that I find it so interesting is the sort of mystery surrounding the character. For much of the show, it isn't entirely clear what exactly he is, or why he appears the way that he does, in the forms that he does. But honestly, I think I found my answer to that nagging question. For those of you that somehow don't know anything about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, first off, how'd you even get to this video? What series of events in your life led you to having both never heard of Fullmetal Alchemist and arriving at this specific video about the anime before any of the several thousands of other videos about it? I mean, no judgment. I'm just genuinely curious as to how that could have possibly happened with a show this hugely successful. But just to bring
what do you guys think about my explanation? Is it really is it legit?
Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood follows two brothers,
I think it is.
Edward and Alphonse Elric, who suffered the loss of their mother in their youth and foolishly attempted the forbidden practice of human transmutation to bring her back to life with alchemy. However, it not only failed, but Edward lost his leg and Alphonse lost his entire being. Traumatized by their failure and his loss, Edward then sacrificed his arm to reclaim his brother's soul and bond it to a suit of armor. The result left Edward crippled and Alphonse trapped in an inhuman body, and so the brothers sought out a method of restoring their full selves. Now, if you haven't seen Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and that summary intrigued you, I'd advise that you go and watch it now, as there are spoilers ahead. So I rambled a bit about God earlier. Where does he play into all of this? When Ed and Al perform human transmutation, they are both taken into the Gate of Truth, and there they both meet God. Their interactions with God are both entirely separate, and we don't really see Alphonse's experience, but the character that sat before Ed and the scene between them that we see in episode 2 informs us that he is the thing that humans know as the world, or perhaps the universe, or perhaps God, or perhaps truth, or perhaps all, or perhaps one. And also you. Sure, his reference to himself using any of these names is uniquely interesting, but the name that we want to focus on today is Truth. Because when I hear that name, and that the name of the realm he inhabits is the Gate of Truth, it brings my attention to a very deep similarity to one of Plato's beliefs. But I'll get to that in a moment. First, let's take a look at the clues.
Jesus.
Whenever we see Truth, he's in an empty dimension. It's completely devoid of any visible objects except for what appears to be his physical form, and the Gate of Truth. All that we see is Truth's reflection of whatever character is currently visiting. He's like a white silhouette of whoever enters his realm. And while that's conceptually harder to distinguish because everyone more or less looks the same when you remove all of their features, in some cases he possesses some of the features he's borrowed from his visitors. For example, he's appeared before Edward wearing our protagonist's arm and leg, and he's even appeared before Alphonse while wearing his entire body. Because no one ever sees these reflections of other characters, with two exceptions, both times that Ed saw Al's body inside the Gate of Truth, it suggests that these forms Truth takes on are not really his own. They're all truly nothing but reflections of the desire or the hubris or the real versions of the characters who visit his plane. So you're probably wondering why I name-dropped Plato earlier. Well,
She's kind of... I think it might be some sort of... reference to the biblical and monoipic stance that says, God has created man into his image, something like that. Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna mention it.
The most influential writers in the history of the Western world. The Western philosophical community has largely accepted the idea that the physical world is not a proper object of knowledge since the work of Plato, and a belief that abstract concepts are not only real, but valuable, is called Platonism. Knowledge about the truth of the universe can only be extracted from abstract ideas that apply universally, like science and mathematics. Many of you may recognize Plato as being one of those popular philosophers from ancient Greece. He's well known for having been the teacher of Aristotle, who, as a quick side note, was the teacher of Alexander the Great, and also for being the author of 47 dialogues, many of which feature retellings of a man known as Socrates, who was Plato's teacher. However, instead of a modern teacher, their relationship was more like that of Jiraiya and Naruto. But instead of teaching the principles and techniques of fighting, Socrates taught Plato the principles of philosophy. In a number of his dialogues, Plato discusses his theory of forms, also known as his division of the line. A diagram of this division is being shown on screen now, though in his dialogues, known as philosophy. In a number of his dialogues, Plato discusses his theory of forms, also known as his division of the line. A diagram of this division is being shown on screen now, though in his dialogues he presents them through conversations between other renowned philosophers of the time, usually framing his mentor Socrates as being the wisest of the bunch, and as such it's believed that the ideas Socrates poses are the ones to which Plato himself subscribes. Plato talks about two worlds, the world of appearances and the world of forms. He believes that there is a fourfold division between gods, because his society was polytheistic and believed in many gods, and men. The world of appearances makes up the world of men, which is only a reflection of a more perfect world, and is also made up of the two lowest divisions of the line. Meanwhile, the world of forms makes up the perfect world of gods. Sensible things, things that you can see or hear or taste or smell or touch, those are all things of the worlds of appearances. To Plato, they're worth very little, because they're only temporary. Sensible things will all eventually decay given enough time, purely through their own nature. This, of course, includes our own bodies. From Plato's perspective, because all of it is temporary and subjective, none of it can truly be known to be real. Today we live in a very materialistic world. We know someone has worked because of the money they've earned, which is demonstrated by the material things they buy with that money. To Plato, none of this matters, and none of it will bring you any closer to truth or to knowledge. To him, the goal of man is to climb higher along the line. The top represents everything good. It represents knowledge. It represents truth. Ultimately, it represents God. We see a manifestation of this in Fullmetal Alchemist, which features a personification of God, which is also known as truth. Humans who commit human transmutation are given a glimpse of another world, a world in which the truth resides. They gain knowledge about alchemy proportionate to their sacrifice during their time in this other world. Look at the world we see every time we see truth. There's nothing in it. It's the home of all knowledge, but there are no physical objects. But the seemingly empty dimension is actually full of more than we as a species will likely ever fully understand. That's because the only things naturally present in the world that the character known as truth inhabits are ideas, or facts, which are not sensible things. There are no sensible things in the world of forms, only truth, knowledge, and whatever the human or homunculus character present
is
brings
pretty
along
good.
with it. It's almost like a visual representation of the world of forms, the world in which, as Plato describes, God lives.
Well, I mean, I don't know if the creator or the mangaka has went exactly for this and has meant for it to be written exactly as a reference to Plato's philosophy, but the whole or the world of appearance and world of forms thing. But it might be. I don't know. I don't know if it's exactly like that, but the writing of it, from the sound of this, it's
even in
it's
Plato's
pretty
division
good
of
as
the
a
line,
philosopher
God and
level.
truth are
Level.
practically one and the same, and it's made abundantly clear that truth is God throughout the series. And just in case there's literally any doubt that truth is meant to be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood's God, the homunculus father tries to steal God's power for his own, and in the end, the one who punishes him is the exact same character in the exact same world known as truth. And that's to say nothing of the fact that the character himself literally identifies himself as truth and God in the same sentence. There's such a direct parallel between Plato's descriptions and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood's illustration that it seems practically intentional. To draw further connections between the representation of truth in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Plato's description, there exists the Philosopher's Stone. Sure, the Philosopher's Stone represents a highly coveted item by real-world alchemists, but it's still an interesting name. Obviously, men belong to the world of appearances according to Plato's division of the line. But what about philosophers? Well, he believed that philosophers were higher on the line than the rest of humanity. He saw it as their duty to gaze into the world of forms, grasp what knowledge they can, and bring it back to educate man and improve the world of appearances. You could say that alchemy operates similarly to that description. An obvious example is what happens to humans who attempt human transmutation. They're literally dragged into the gate of truth. They gain knowledge, and they're sent back to their world. Just replace philosophers with alchemists. Of course, the process is less pleasant than Plato probably envisioned, but otherwise there are a lot of similarities. And all of alchemy operates in the same way, just to a lesser extent. Every time alchemy is performed, the gate of truth is involved, as evidenced by Edward Elric's inability to use alchemy of any sort after he sacrifices his personal gate of truth to regain his brother Alphonse's body. The Philosopher's Stone acts as an amplifier of an alchemist's abilities, and allows them to transmute without any sacrifice. It eases the alchemist's ability to grasp the truth and use it to change their world, which is a direct parallel to the goal of a philosopher as described in Plato's dialogues. However, I also think there's a connection to truth's motivations here. The homunculus known as Father spends the entire series attempting to gain the power of God. After he fails in doing so, he's personally berated by Truth. It seems that Truth's goal is to teach him a lesson in humility. When Edward Elric sacrifices his own gate of truth, knowing that he will no longer be able to perform alchemy, Truth congratulates Edward and says that he's found the answer. Symbolically, Edward is giving up his position as a philosopher, someone attempting to climb up the ladder by giving up his gate of truth, accepting his place in the world of appearances. It appears that the lesson that Truth is trying to impart is that humans should not aspire to be him, but aspire to be themselves. Of course, I cannot speak with certainty for whether or not Hiromu intended for these parallels to be drawn. Try as I might, I couldn't find any interviews with the mangaka herself confirming or denying any direct Platonic inspiration. But the idea that it could be a coincidence is kind of interesting in itself, really. I like to think that Hiromu Arakawa, a Japanese woman of the 20th century, is somehow on the same wavelength as this ancient Greek patriarchal philosopher. Who knows whether Hiromu Arakawa...
I mean, quite honestly, I think I would a lot more... I mean, she draws references to Plato, of course, and she vibes with him in the same vibe as far as philosophy is concerned. But I think, as far as truth in general is concerned, I think that her way of thinking is a lot more objective. It's a lot more than Plato's way, even. So I'm not saying that she is above Plato or anything, but. Actually, I think I am. I mean, I'm not simping here or anything, but man, she's kind of a genius if she meant all of this, and I think she does at least to a certain degree. I would because as I was watching this video, I didn't want to spoil the experience, but I had a lot of reactions towards Plato's depiction of and Plato's philosophy in general, as far as the philosophers and the two worlds are concerned, as philosophers are some sort of prophets that are linked between the words of form and the words of appearance, and they are the ones who can actually rise above the words of appearance and go to the words of forms. And I think that is a very hypocritical way of thinking, because in the end we are, and the objective and the objective truth in general is that we are never going to be able to detach from the world of appearances, because we are in the world of appearances. It's just as simple as that. So kind of denying it is very hypocritical, for in my opinion. Of course, aspiring maybe for a higher form of being is not bad in itself, but you cannot deny the fact that it would be just delusional. So yeah, the ending, having that in my mind throughout the video, and having that ending as, you know, this mangaka says, kind of sends the message in the end that the protagonist is kind of just accepts himself as in the world of appearances, and in a way actually makes himself a higher form, because in the end the world of appearances is not the world of form is not necessarily a higher form of existence than the world of appearances itself. So that's very interesting concept. So yeah, that was I've actually had a lot of fun watching this thing, and I would like to personally thank my boy Takeda for in my Instagram for the suggestion that this video. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked watching this as much as I have. Leave a comment down below about anything that about your thoughts, and what you thought about this video, or my thoughts about this video as well. And subscribe if you want to watch more of these videos. If you want me to react to any of other, I've actually started to react to this kind of videos, because I don't think I'm gonna have to worry about copyrights. So mainly it's that, except if I get a copyright strike again, but I don't think so, as long as I mention this guy Kato here. So yeah, obviously follow his channel. Apparently he's making good content over here. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.